So this is part 4 of the Kart buggy build. Today we're going to try to get the most of the framework done. It won't be all of it, but you know, the whole gist of it there. I'm kind of going for the look. I want like a single seater mini sandrail look. That's kind of what I'm trying to achieve. I've always liked sandrail ever since I've been a kid. So yeah, we'll do some framework. I'm gonna make up some foot pedals for this thing, and we'll do some work on the steering. So with that said, let's get to building. I'm trying to decide right now if I like the looks of that being kind of more parallel, like straight, or if I kind of angle them out a bit. I'm not sure what I like better. I don't know what to think. I think I almost like the straight better. That looks pretty cool too, though. I don't know. Can't decide. So it appears I need to go pick up another flat disc. I thought I had some here somewhere, but I can't seem to find them. Anyways, it's like 35 below outside. I really don't want to go anywhere. I have a few days off work. I'm trying to get some stuff done on this. And apparently I need a cutoff wheel. I need some flap discs. I bought a Milwaukee one. I always just cheap out and buy cheap ones, but this thing has lasted way longer than anything I've ever used before. So I'm definitely going to buy one of those again. So I went to the hardware store and picked up some new braces. I said that I thought I had bought Milwaukee, their Diablo. Yeah, I've never used these before, but man, did they ever last a long time. Not that they're sponsoring me or anything, but I'm just saying they really last compared to the cheapies. I'm really starting to dig the front view of this. It looks mean. Okay, so like many things that I build, I change my mind lots as I go along. I didn't film all this. I started filming it and I started getting going, and I didn't film all of it, but I'm adding this section in right here, right now, because I'm gonna go with double A-arms on this. I know I originally robbed these off a little Chinese quad and extended them, but I gotta get my mounts in for my upper A-arms. So I started mounting these tubes in here because I'm just going to run a tube, parallel to my bottom tube here. I'm going to run a tube across here and then bring it over and attach it into these bars that I'm putting in right now. I thought it would, look cool and add strength. And so far I'm liking how it's looking. I think it looks pretty sharp. So I'm going to continue on with that now. So the overall look of this buggy is coming along the way I wanted. However, these tires are ridiculously way too small for this build, and this thing is far too narrow. I have to widen it out. So I end up picking up these used tires and rims today. The tires are pretty much bald, but they're just something to get me by, to have something to work with in the meantime. The bigger tires are fitting this project much better. I've changed my mind a few times on this with the steering, how I'm going to do the steering on this. At one point was going to get a rack. The front end on this buggy is really narrow. I would have had to make a modification so a rack would fit. Oh, I see that doesn't fit. So I decided I'm going to try a chain reduction steering, which I'm sure has been done before. I don't know how well it's going to work. So I turn this guy down on my lathe so I can put some bearings in there. And then the plan is I still have to do the same to this one. I got to turn it down so I can put some bearings in there. And then this isn't a keyed shaft. I'll get a keyed shaft. So the one sprocket will go on there, and the other smaller sprocket will go up here. Because I didn't want a really big reduction in my steering. I wanted something so I could still have pretty quick, so I don't have to like crank the wheel a bunch of times. But I want a little bit of reduction because they are pretty big tires. So it's going to be, if I just made it like regular go-kart steering, it would be probably a little bit tough. So we need a little bit of reduction. And I'm not, I'll see how well this works. I was thinking of like when I mount this, somehow like have a little slide in there so I can adjust the chain tension. And on here I'll just obviously put like my steering arms off there. Like I'll have to weld it out, but whatever, and that'll go to the tie rod ends. So we'll see if it works. Who knows? I've never tried this before. So doing some work to my old chain steering box. I cut these guys out. I still have to clean them up. This one's kind of my one that I made first of all. These guys are gonna get welded on here like this, and then another one on the other side like that kind of thing, blah, blah, blah. And then I'll bolt the one end together. When I make the other piece, it'll be slotted, so I'll have an adjustment like this for my chain kind of thing. And yeah, I've never tried this before, so we'll see how well it works out. So this is my crazy steering setup, which I don't know if it's even gonna work. Might have been a colossal waste of time. But yeah, I want a little bit of reduction in my steering. It would have been really hard to put a rack in here because it's so narrow. It could have been done, but it probably would have looked really silly. Mind you, this has kind of got an interesting look to it as well. I don't have my spindles or A-arms built yet, so I don't know for sure if this is gonna bind or not. I'll have to, time will tell. Might have been a colossal waste of time. So a few changes that were done to this steering system. I went to a larger sprocket on the bottom and a smaller one on the top than original, just because it was a little too stiff to turn. And this here piece I made up because the original one that I put on there to try to prevent bump steer, it didn't work properly. Everything was binding up when I was turning, so that idea got scrapped. But oddly enough, this thing, it virtually has no bump steer. I'm actually quite surprised because it's not perfectly lined up with the lower A-arm pivot points, but I guess it's close enough that it works pretty freaking good. That was the original part I had on the steering there, but well, it was just tacked in place, but when I went to go and try it, it was a fail. No good. Goes in the scrap pile. That's all the time I have left for this episode, so we're gonna call it quits here. I'm pretty pleased with the way the overall look of this buggy's coming out. I'm pretty happy with it. The small tires that I had on there originally clearly were way too small. The larger tires in the picture, they're not mounted or anything yet. They're just leaning against the buggy just to get the look, to see what it's gonna look like. But that's it for today, so take her easy and have a good one.